Welcome back to What Is Us. This week, we are talking about some anime. More specifically, My Hero Academia Season 7 and My Hero Academia, the fourth movie, You're Next. And my co-host, Shane... You're not Shane.
I told you. There's only me now.
Where's Shane?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Well, have you seen My Hero Academia Season 7 and My Hero Academia, the fourth movie, You're Next?
Yeah, I for sure have.
Well... This is super exciting for me because I love My Hero Academia, and last time we did an episode on a specific movie out of context, so there was some stuff I could and could not talk about.
Yes. No longer the issue.
Yeah, it is no longer the case, Breck. That's right, because I have you now, and you and I bonded very heavily over My Hero Academia and all of the great My Hero Academia things.
Correct.
So just very briefly, give your little history of My Hero Academia.
Oh, Lord Almighty. In all honesty, let's take it back to 2018, shall we? Let's take it back to 2018. I think that's when I learned about it. I was starting to get into anime in 2018. I had watched a singular anime in high school, and then I got to college, and all my friends were like, "You guys should watch anime," and I was like, "Cool, I'll watch anime." So I honest to God, I think I saw. It's going to be really embarrassing. Be prepared for this. An Instagram edit of, I believe, Bakugo. And I was like, so what's all this about? I like superheroes. I like, anime about school because my first anime was Ouran High School Host Club. Deep cut.
You didn't have to tell me that. I knew. I knew.
You can tell from the everything.
There's
about
a vibe.
My first ever anime was Ouran High School Host Club, and my second was Devilman Crybaby. And those are two things... They could not be more different in every way. Ouran High School Host Club is like, la-da-dee, la-da-doo,
what a
la-da-da.
specific pivot that just took.
And then I was like, this looks interesting. And then there's like demons with scary boobs that turns into mouths and just like, and that's
Sorry,
just
what was this one called again?
Devilman Crybaby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Devilman Crybaby?
Yes.
So I'm going to watch it.
It has the most banger score of all time.
Of course it does.
You have to be prepared for that anime to end in the most upsetting way possible ever.
I'm super excited about that.
It's great. But so I want to say I kind of picked it up and then I put it down, and I would do this thing where I would like kind of be on the periphery of it, but I did not sit down to watch it and really absorb it until my senior year of college. And I've been obsessed ever since.
Yeah.
They're just my friends, and I love them so much.
Just your friends, and you love them so much.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
What's your history with?
My history is a very good friend of mine was showing a bunch of us. My Hero popped up, and he was like, "Have you guys seen it?" And we're like, "No." He's like, "Spencer, you haven't seen My Hero Academia?" And I went, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You love superheroes." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's superhero anime." So he got us to watch it. I immediately fell in love with it because he's right. I do love superheroes.
Those are all your favorite things.
All my favorite things. It is a metaphor that just works for me. I know it doesn't for a lot of people, but like, I don't know, guys.
Sorry, you guys hate to have fun.
True. Legitimately. Superheroes are so much fun, and there's so many great stories. You're just looking at them as this broad thing, but you need to go find specific ones, and then you'll fall in love with it as a storytelling medium.
Precisely.
As I have, and have for basically my whole life. Anyway...
Oh my God.
What?
I just remembered. I recovered the memory of the first time I ever watched an episode of My Hero Academia.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
It's June 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I've just seen Hereditary at the movie theater.
Oh my God. I
was scared shitless. My room looked like Alex Wolf's room in that movie. Is it Alex or Nat Wolf?
It's Alex.
It's Alex Wolf's room. And I only got 2 hours of sleep that night. I was terrified that Toni Collette was in my room going to kill me. And so when I woke up and I was like, well, I'm not going back to sleep. That was when I first put on my very first episode of My Hero Academia. Because I was like, this will be great. This is going to definitely cheer me up. And it did.
For sure.
For sure. Besides all the terrible bullying and the, discrimination and the everything.
Yeah, so it's a show, and on the surface is very simple, but you are right. It tackles things such as discrimination in admittedly very broad ways.
But superheroes have always been a broad way for us to describe the things that are happening to us in society. So
there are broad and very specific and very in-depth ones. Like you watch things like Watchmen. Watchmen's a bit more nuanced. You read specifically something like Watchmen. It's a bit
who
more
watches
nuanced.
The Watchmen?
No one watches The Watchmen. That's the big question. But season 7 of My Hero. Actually, you know what? Let's pause here. We're going to talk about the movie, the newest movie that's in theaters right now, if you can still find it. It's very good, and I had a blast watching it.
We loved it.
So we're going to talk there first, and then we're going to talk about the penultimate season of My Hero Academia. And you are going to have to be so careful about spoilers, because you know things that are coming that I do not.
I don't like that you just called it the penultimate season, because that makes it real that it's ending.
I know. It's ending.
That was mean.
I know. I tried.
It's okay.
No, it's not. I was trying to be mean. Anyway, so we're going to talk about the movie. So you and I went and saw this together in theaters, like opening first couple of days or whatever.
No, like we saw it like opening night.
Yeah, like we're super big fans. Anyway, so we went and saw this movie. What did you think? How does it compare to the other 3 My Hero movies?
The thing is that every My Hero movie has pretty much the same plot.
Yes.
And I can't even be mad about it, because when it works, it works.
Yeah, when
if
it works,
it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know?
Ain't broke, don't
every
fix
My
it.
Hero movie is like Deku makes a friend and saves the day, and I'm like, I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm sitting down for it. And I think probably my favorite of all of these is still going to be Heroes Rising.
Which is the episode we did before. You should
Check
watch that
it
episode.
out.
It's really good. Heroes Rising is the best one.
Yes.
Agree. Ultimately, it is the one that works the most.
It's the one that gets... Well, I say this. I was about to say it's the one besides the first movie that gets referenced the most within the actual canon. But now, as of season 7, all of the movies have been referenced
pretty much
within the show.
I also think Heroes Rising is the one that explores the most fun theme about superheroism, which is the duality. Not duality, but the kind of duality, but the multiple sides of being a hero.
Yes.
Heroism isn't defined as one type of thing, which is something My Hero goes into a lot. Like the type of hero you want to be, the reason you're being a hero, what you want to do. Are you fighting to...
Yes, the right or wrong ways to go about being a hero.
Yes, but like the theme of that movie is win to save to win, right? Is victory for you saving someone, or is saving someone victory? You know, it's like, what is your primary thought going into battle? And is it wrong to have one or the other? And it explores those themes quite well, I think.
And it definitely tackles the themes of the show more than any of the other movies, which is fair, because Heroes Rising, actually, that movie is was the planned original ending of the manga.
Yeah, which is nuts.
And then Horikoshi was like, oh, you guys would hate that?
Yeah.
I guess I won't do it. And it's like, yeah, we would hate that. But this one, for me, also... I think I still like it more than the first one. It's no tea, no shade towards the first one. It just, it comes at a point in the canon that there are a couple characters where I'm like, I don't want to be around you right now. Love you so much. Kisses. Come back to you later. I.e. Bakugo being pre-kidnapped character development. I'm like, damn, you're a pain in the ass right now. But this one comes at a very weird spot in the canon in terms of like they are literally about to go back into war, and it's like, we gotta go have a field trip.
It doesn't fit great.
They
do their best to set up the idea of here they are trying to get jailbreakers. They're trying to get all these criminals that have been let loose by Shigaraki.
It fills in a bit of the gap between the last season and the season that was currently airing when this came out, because this came out towards the tail end of season 7.
Yes.
And it's bridging the gap between the end of season 6, where, wow, huge spoilers for all of the My Hero Academia show.
It's fine. Deal with it.
Huge spoilers. But, end of season 6, Deku's come back from being a vigilante. Sorry, I really want to say vigilante every time, and that's
Please
just
don't
Lego.
say
It's
that.
Lego Batman fault. Vigilante. And so they're doing that, and the beginning of season 7 is they're all about to go back out to war. So I think this is taking place in that gap, and it works fine. It does not work particularly stellar.
It makes sense why this is what they're doing if they want to keep it somewhat canon, which it's not exactly canon, but they want to keep it somewhat canon. Like Deku doesn't use a certain power that he gets in season 7 that is unleashed. But he uses every other power that he had before.
Which is, fair.
So I just want to say the opening of this movie, made me tear up a little bit.
Yes.
It's when Deku just like initiates float and like floats out of the back, and then you realize like, oh man, this kid who came from nothing with no power whatsoever can fly now. Through the combination of everything he's learned and all these things he's been given and unlocked and mastered, he can now fly.
Like it.
I love that.
And
I love that because to me, and he has a cape now. It's a sash, but it's a cape.
Like,
I mean,
but like he just because when he first meets All Might, he's like tagging along on All Might flying.
Yeah.
And now he flies.
But here's the thing. I want to make this very clear. All Might's not flying. All Might's
floating.
Leaping through the air.
Oh, that's right.
He's jumping. He appears to be soaring, but he's not flying.
It's been so long since we've seen All Might in action that I like forgot what All Might
does.
does.
All Might just jumps. Like All Might blasts around and jumps around the city. The thing I love about the difference is that Deku is flying.
Yes.
He is literally using a combination of like 3 powers to fly.
Which is an underrated part of Deku's character, in my opinion, is I think this far into the show, in the manga, we've probably maybe forgotten that he's just like insanely smart because we just kind of take it for granted. But he had to learn. We are at this point. He's only had a power for like 2.5 years.
And he can already
he is leaps and bounds ahead of everyone who's already had their power by the beginning of the show for 12 years.
And the fact that he at this point in the show with that little amount of time can take on all of class
A
all
and
of class
beat their
A,
ass.
almost passing out from exhaustion and essentially not really have to try all that hard. It takes like 7 of their powers to combine to match his speed alone.
Like,
it's unreal.
There's points where I'm almost like, what's the point? Deku's OP, and then
I don't agree.
And then not that I'm saying that ever is like a genuine feeling I have, but there are some times where I'm like, so what exactly is anyone supposed to do here? Like does.
I think the show shows you that, and we'll talk about that. The show very much shows that other people are still necessary.
Oh.
Like, look, Deku gets a godlike power, but even past that, there are like 4 people who have to show up to save the day.
Yes,
like
correct.
No, Deku cannot beat the Dark Might, which is a fucking fantastic idea.
It's so funny the way they're all so offended too.
Yeah. Oh no. But look, that's the main. Okay, that's what I want to talk about this movie. But Deku can't beat Dark Might alone. He has to have 2 people there helping him.
Absolutely.
Deku does the most incomprehensible shit you've ever seen in this movie, and yet he still has to have 2 people blasting the hell out of this guy to win.
Which is an important lesson that we learn with Deku too. Is he's not immune to getting cocky. He's not immune to thinking like, I have to do everything by myself, which he doesn't think he's being cocky. But to me, it's the similar thing with Bakugo where they're both like, well, I'm so good. No one, like, I can handle this. And it's like, you need help.
Yeah.
People are here to help you. You need to accept help because
right,
there's no point in being a hero if you're going to die when you're 20 because you're like, you're on death's door every day.
Yeah. It's really good stuff. But like, look, so the thing I want to tackle mostly with this movie, there's 2 things. We're going to start with the funny one first. Mm-hmm. What's the guy's name? The robot guy?
Julio. No, Julio.
So there's like, look, I am not the most anime knowledgeable guy, but of everything I've seen, there's like Spike Spiegel.
Yes.
And then Julio in terms of just
Julio
cool.
is the baddest
the dude
in the game.
He's hilarious. He's so willing to just
Dry
let other people
humor,
die. Like, he is a badass. His arm turns into a gun. I love Julio.
His leg is a rocket booster.
His eyeball.
His eye does recon.
And then he also just has another gun that he pulls on people frequently.
And he's so in love with the woman he's taking care of his whole life that he's essentially like, as you wish.
Yeah. It literally is as you wish energy if I have ever seen it. It's so good.
We must bring back men with as you wish energy.
We must bring back men with as you wish energy. But legitimately, I mean that. Like I was sitting there like Spike Spiegel's still cooler. But damn, this guy's got some moments when he's like calling in my bike and his bike like fucking Prowler crawls in and blows up and fights everybody. You're like, this is just awesome.
Deku's like, thanks for saving me. He's like, you're welcome. You're a really good human shield. And Deku's like,
great, thanks.
Okay.
But okay, so that's the funny thing. I just get that out of the way. Julio's awesome.
And he's hot.
There's no 2 ways about it.
He's just like, he has an eye patch, for God's sake.
He has an eye patch.
Come on.
The other thing I really want to talk about that I think this movie is really about is legacy. Mm-hmm. So we're at this point in superhero stories, like look, Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
One of the most famous comic books ever. If you haven't read Kingdom Come, go read it. It is about generational superheroes. Like, in the point of that story, we're on like the third generation of heroes being prevalent, but they've all lost their way. So that story is about various heroes coming back and having to try to wrangle them in, but also kind of realizing the world has changed and there's this giant disconnect and it causes all this conflict amongst everyone. This movie's kind of about that in a much more simplistic way of like, look, All Might never let you down. All Might was always going to be All Might. Always. And the thing that was so great about this movie is that you're right. They were all offended when this guy came up and was like, I'm the new All Might. And they're like, the hell you are.
And it's like, oh, okay. I'm actually going to beat the shit out of you now.
We're all actually going to actively beat the living shit out of you now. And I love that. I love this reverence for a hero, right? In the show is tackling that very idea right now in a way that I really want to talk about and I'm really interested in. But the thing that My Hero did is like, Bakugo is angry.
Yes.
Bakugo's like, you want to be? Like, no, you're not All Might. But also this idea of legacy, of all these things, where the villain thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yes.
He's like, oh, fuck it. I'm going to force all of you. No one can
fascinating.
Yeah, it's great. And like, I love that even after All Might goes, no, I already picked my successor. It is not you. You're evil, and I condone everything you're doing. And if you follow me, you'll listen to that. And he goes, no.
And you're like, oh.
And you're like, okay, so this is just fanaticism run wild, where you can't even believe the guy you're idolizing would do this. It's great storytelling in the most interesting kind of like superhero way. That anime is very broad. They're anime. Cowboy Bebop, Spike Spiegel, incredibly nuanced, incredibly subtle. All of these things about that, but it still has its like overture level. Like,
100%.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that idea of legacy within superhero, of passing the torch, of who's the next one. All that stuff is so like ripe for me. Like I love it.
Because it also reflects how we feel, I think, in our day-to-day lives about our own families, if that makes sense. Like I think it helps us. I think legacy within superhero media, be it comics, movies, shows, anime, however, I think it helps us grapple with, you know, how we feel about the legacies we've been passed on. And honestly, like,
well, I think
you and I as people are not like inheriting a crazy quirk and like punching buildings and screaming every name of the But I think, you know, everyone has a legacy that they want to live up to.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think that part of that speaks to people a lot more than I think they realize. I think a lot of stuff like that, we're like, this is some high concept thing about superhero movie. And it's like, no, guys, like there's always something or someone you're trying to live up to the name of.
Yeah, there's several people have given a quote similar to this, but the one I'm talking about specifically is Grant Morrison's quote. Grant Morrison, legendary comic book writer.
Legend.
A lot of people say he wrote the best run on Batman of all time. It's very good. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's very good. He wrote Superman. He's written a lot of stuff. Grant Morrison is a genius. He's a weirdo, but he's a genius.
All the good geniuses.
Essentially, he talked about Superman this way, where he's like, look, a lot of people have like lost the idea of Superman because he's so strong, he's so powerful. But he's like, but it's not. All of it is humanistic. If Superman goes out and walks the dog, it's on the asteroid belt.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a story about intergalactic aliens that are Kryptonians coming in and trying to destroy everything, that's a story about your relatives coming to visit. Any creator who takes these ideas, these giant broad things, and goes, okay, but what's the humanity in it? And brings it down to that, they're the geniuses.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, that is how to tell these stories.
100%.
I love, there's what's the comic? I can't remember the run, but like Green Arrow. Take Green Arrow, for example. Green Arrow is this playboy, rich asshole. Oliver Queen is. Then he goes through something, and when he comes back, he can't live with it.
Yeah.
He can't live with what he had and what everyone else didn't. So he becomes he's a Robin Hood type character. Yeah. But he's Robin Hood that isn't necessarily stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. They found a different angle for somebody like that to go down. It's fascinating. Every character you look at, all the great stories about these characters are about that. Swamp Thing is about the environment. But it's also about love. It's also about differences in species and identity and learning what you really are. It is fascinating what you can do with broad stories.
And to me, that's the allure of superheroes to this day, is because they've always been this kind of broader metaphor and form and medium's the word I'm looking for, with which to play with the things that are happening. I mean, like, the guys that made Superman were 2 Jewish immigrants, and they were like, this is how we feel. This is how it feels to be here. Like, we have to grapple with this. And I mean, like,
I'm so glad you brought that up, because, like, look, not only that, so they're 2 Jewish immigrants, and now the Superman motto has changed, because it was truth, justice, in the American way, which, by the way, for a long time in the types of Superman stories we're getting, I very much understand why that was the thing. There was this big hubble, big rumble when they changed it, and I can't believe there was a rumble, because you know what they changed it to? Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. I have held for a long time that if I ever got to write a Superman project, it would be called Superman A Better Tomorrow. Precisely. I've held that since before they changed that. Because that's a piece of Superman's iconography, that's a piece of his language, is a better tomorrow. Well, it's just he said it before. He's the embodiment of hope and what we can be with ultimate power. You can still be good. It doesn't have to corrupt absolutely. I love Superman, but I've held for a long time that if I ever got to write a Superman comic, movie, anything, it would be called Superman A Better Tomorrow. And I love that, because Superman is not a character, and superheroes are not a character to be owned by someone.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, look, at the end of the day, if we really want to be real about this, everyone past the original creators who are writing these characters, it's fan fiction.
We're all writing fan fiction.
It's fan fiction.
It's fan fiction.
Like, look, it's authorized fan fiction, but it's fan fiction.
That's like
because
the
it's
ongoing,
so far past the point of adaptation that it's just fan fiction.
The ongoing joke there. It's one of my favorite memes about Batman ever, and it's, you know, the meme of, like, it's the format of the guy like progressively, and he's like going whoa whoa, and he like explodes. And the last panel of that for the Batman meme is just everything is canon because nothing is canon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, precisely. Look, I say that about all. Okay, that's another thing about My Hero that I really love is how accessible it is.
100%.
You can just jump in. Look, manga is so much more popular around the world, in the U.S. than American
100%.
comic books are, and I rally against that a little bit. I rage against that a little bit, in that
we got a comic nerd over here.
They shouldn't be. Well, yeah, we got a comic nerd. Yes. Look, comics are overly convoluted. Manga is so much more accessible, and you can just pick up a book and go. Like, and that is something I love. But My Hero is so clearly inspired by American comic books. That's overt. Like, it's not even
it's
just
overt.
He says it. The creator says it. Anyway.
He also references Star Wars a lot. If you go to the TV Tropes page of My Hero Academia, there are at least 20 separate references to Star Wars within My Hero Academia.
Yeah. Look, so I am just a big O fan of superheroes and what they can do.
Especially because it feels unfair now that we've kind of received this like pushback against Superman for whatever reason to make him into the kind of darker character. And it's like, well, where's the drama? Like, you know, there's no drama in some all-powerful dude. And it's like, to quote my favorite Tumblr post, the drama is that he's a person with feelings, bro.
Thank you.
Like, and we've moved into a point where, like, you could say that about All Might in My Hero. Like, you could be like, well, where's the drama with All Might? And it's like, the drama that he's a person with feelings. Yeah, it's not that he can get his ass beat. He can't get his ass beat by anyone other than All For One. It's that he's moving through this world. He's having relationships with other people. All Might's relationship with Night Eye, where like Night Eye's like, I literally cannot be around you anymore. Yeah. I know how you're going to die and it pains me. Like,
it's good stuff.
Like, this is just my tangent of what's always fascinated me is all powerful characters who have a weakness that isn't physical. There's something about a weakness in someone's armor that isn't physical that will always be more fascinating to me than being like, I'm underpowered or something.
What everyone wants to talk about with Superman is that it's always kryptonite. It's like, you should go read Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. There's a story in there where it's not kryptonite, not ultimately kryptonite. I mean, it's a story about his loved ones being attacked. The way to beat Superman is to beat his ideology, to attack that. You're not going to beat Superman in a fight. No. The whole point of that character is he's a man with limitless potential. Yes. He's no barriers. There's no glass ceiling he can't blow up and blast through. So you attack his ideology. You attack his family. You attack his friends. You attack 100%. His city. You know, you burn everything. It's the same thing as like a Captain America story. 100%. Captain America stories are not interesting because Steve Rogers changes. Yeah. Captain America stories are interesting because you put all of these situations where you would typically see a character change and he holds firm on his beliefs That's the metaphor
Which
of the
is,
characters like that.
Again, what happens with Deku through this movie and through especially season 7 is we see him holding on to the fact he's like, I believe inside of Shigaraki there is a little scared kid who needs someone to hold a hand out to him.
He looked like he needed saving.
Like,
it's a great line. Okay, let's keep talking about the My Hero movie. You're next. Favorite moments, favorite scenes.
I mean, I just love Bakugo kicking butt wherever he goes.
I love when he's like, fine, let's go. And then he blows the hole in the dungeon master's lair. And he's like, I'm a cheat code, dude.
Mommy's perfect little gremlin.
He is so good. He's so good.
It's
so funny.
Him and Todoroki. There's nothing funnier than Bakugo getting stuck with Todoroki. And Todoroki's like, I'm with my friend. And Bakugo's like, stop telling people we're fucking friends.
Yeah. Well, they make a great pair because their powers are both similar and very different.
They're both similar and different, and they complement each other in such. So that fight where they're fighting with the transporter and
the telepath,
transporter is not a word. Teleporter.
Transporter is a word. It is a word.
It is a word. It's just
It's not the word you're looking for.
Was not the word I was looking for. That scene really stuck out to me, and again, all three of them at the end being like, "How dare you call yourself?" Dark Might, and it's the power, like it really is just three little boys being like, you can't talk about him like that.
That is our mentor, that is our friend, that is someone's legacy we hold dear.
Yes,
right,
because I think it would be remiss to say that obviously Deku is All Might's successor, but all of them are his proteges, and all of them in some way are also his successor. I think All Might's legacy is too large for one person to handle.
Oh, totally agree.
And which is why,
look, Deku's not the one to fully inspire hope in the way All Might did.
No,
some of those other characters are honestly, in a lot of ways, Red Riot is a little bit 100%. More the inspiring, the guy who's just going to jump in and
masculinity.
Be positive masculinity, a shield. He's the guy to be big and boisterous and chivalrous. You know what I mean? And Deku's scared of the media. But when push comes to shove, Deku's the guy standing. Oh, it's one of my favorite moments in the show when he fights Muscular.
Yes.
And he Koda, the kid, is there, and the kid doesn't believe in superheroes, and Deku's like, I don't care. I'm still going to protect you.
Yeah.
Oof, it's good stuff.
And it's how I've always felt. It's how I've always wished the manga and the show would end, would be Deku and Great Explosion, Murder God, Dynamite. Lord Explosion, Murder God, Dynamite.
I don't know. I call him Dynamite.
Would be a hero duo together, because truly it's all about save to win to save. Yeah. And I don't think anyone in the show or in the universe could ever be what All Might is, as in no one is ever going to be the symbol of peace again. But to me, I've always wanted Deku to be the symbol of hope.
Yes, no,
which is very quote popular piece of fandom, but that's how I feel about it. Is I've always felt that All Might's legacy is too big for one person to handle alone, which is also a theme of the show. Like, I think that's maybe not directly hinted at, but I think there are definitely discussions about that happening on the show, that Deku cannot shoulder this entire burden on his own.
That's what I think the whole last couple seasons have been about.
Yes.
About sharing the weight, sharing
100%.
the load. And that's very, very much what the entire hero strategy is in season 6. Oh yeah, but let's finish talking about the movie. Let's focus on the movie. We're very scattered.
What are your favorite moments from the movie?
Oh, my favorite shot from the movie is when Bakugo and Todoroki are like blasting away at him, and then Deku like zooms in between them, and you get that great 3-shot of all three of them lined up, and they're just so like, oh my god, it's so good. I forgot
my other moment is Virginia.
Oh yeah,
Delaware.
When he starts listing off
California.
the states, I literally grabbed your leg. I was like, "Holy shit! Is this the best thing I've ever seen?" It's so awesome.
It's just so good.
It's one of those things where it's just like, I can't believe I had never considered that happening. Right? Like they still find a way to express. The other thing, there's this his little foot tap thing to charge up Fajin.
Which is something we just walk around the house doing.
And now every time I'm like, we got to go. I loved that moment. I loved it. A thing I love about it is I love that the pro heroes in this movie are not really there to fight. Like they do. They Hawks goes off and helps fight. But
they handle stuff on the periphery.
Yeah, they show up to save the kids after they've held off as long as they but the main piece that the pros are there for, and Endeavor says, he's like, we're gonna form a wall between that thing and UA.
100%.
Is that we're here solely to save people. Their main function is to get the hostages out.
100%.
And Endeavor's like, they're like, that's not a move you can do over and over again. He's like, what does it matter? I'm a hero. I'm doing this. And he just blasts off another ultimate move. That kind of stuff. And Endeavor's character arc and stuff is paid off so well.
Incredibly fascinating.
Because you start that off like you're irredeemable. In a lot of ways, still is.
Still is.
But there is this level of like, okay, no one's completely irredeemable in a world like this.
And no one is perfect.
And no one's perfect.
And no one is given. There's no gimmies. There's no free pass.
Yes. I was very taken with that idea when their main purpose is to just save people.
100%.
You know, other people are in the fight. Other people are doing the thing that we got to do. They're there to save people. In my, I hinted at it. When Deku does something incomprehensible, I just like it. I just really like it. I love when he's blasting
cool.
through reality and stuff is warping and it's and he like kicks his leg out and the wind pressure hits and it looks like he's like hitting pressure that he's trying to break through, but it's nothing. All of that shit is so... You can't do it in live action, so I love when they take the advantage.
Yeah, I'm scared for that live action My Hero stuff.
I don't actually think it's going to happen, in all honesty. But it might, and I don't know. But the incomprehensible shit, but my favorite, bar none favorite thing that happens in this movie is when Julio's like, I have to kill her. I don't have another choice. I've tried everything. There's nothing different. And then Deku or Uraraka, whichever one.
It's like, Uraraka.
She just quietly goes, last time you didn't have us. And then all of them chip in of like, look, we have experience with quirk erasure. We're not going to give up on her. Oh, this. It's like just this list. And he looks around at him and you just realize like, oh, there's wisdom in being young. Oh, there's wisdom in being
100%
a hero. You know what I mean? It's like you can do all of this good and you can be all this good. And it's not all about punching people. Sometimes it's just about propping up the guy who can make the difference. Who is seeing a dude who needs help and going, they didn't have us last time, so we're going to try again, you know?
Which is, they've all learned the lesson at that point of, you looked like you needed saving. Like, you looked like you needed help. Well, and they're just good kids.
It's so similar to that moment in Demon Slayer where Tanjiro flips the coin to see if the butterfly, can't remember her name. It's not Shinobu. It's Shinobu's student.
Yes.
Flips coin and catches...
Aoi?
I don't remember. Does the coin and he's like, oh, it's good. You can make your own decisions now. You don't have to ask the coin or whatever. And she was like, well, what would you have done if it landed on a head? He's like, that's easy. I would have flipped it again. And there's just, I love this idea of nothing is set in stone where we can always flip the coin again. We can always try again. There's always someone else out there who can help. It's so good and so fascinating.
And it resonates with us in real life because that is how it is in real life. There's always, there's not really a whole lot of true dead ends in real life.
It's one of my favorite things in My Hero, just that little moment, that quiet little moment of, they didn't have us last time. And then Bakugo takes charge and it goes back into being
Which makes me so happy.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I love...
He used to not be a leader. He used to just be a bully that other people followed around. And now he's
I know. Anything... Oh, and then also when Deku... Which I picked up on this immediately. Like, as soon as I saw the Power Slow guy, I was like, oh, I know how Deku's going to beat him. But when the payoff of it is when he goes back and he's like, why is he still moving so fast? Just because Deku is so fast, he can like, even through time slowing, he's really fast. Great moment, great setup and payoff. I'm really into that. And then that shot of Shoto running, doing the ice and spinning around giant dark. It's great. It's great.
There are few pieces of superhero media that use the powers as creatively as
we talked a lot about that last time where it's like man, everything to me comes down to power combination. Like Yayurosa making all of these cannons that need electricity, so Charge Bolt is doing everything he can to blast energy into them so that they can last, and then Grape Juice is blocking them, and then Sue is launching rocks in the air that ungravities, so they all of these things where you're like, man, they really had to sit there and block all this out, and they just went so
awesome.
I guarantee they went through 50 iterations of people's powers for like, oh no, this is the one that feels original. And Deku is the epitome. Deku's the epitome of that, right? Like Fujin into this, into that, adding smoke screen. It's so good.
Which is again speaks to so much of A, Deku is a genius.
Yeah.
B, this class is a well-oiled machine. Yeah. And C, it makes you feel even more like these people are friends and go to class with each other every day and study each other and absorb each other's powers and then are like, okay, so like they almost know each other's powers as well as they know their own.
Yeah.
Which is a really fun thing because in a lot of
Deku
other
definitely does.
100% he's a freak.
Anyway,
I say that with love, but
so that's the movie. I loved the movie.
We loved the movie.
I'm really excited to watch it again.
people were like, "This is the same as the other ones," and I'm like, "I'd watch 10
and
more."
it's like, yeah, give me another one.
I would watch
what do you
10
mean?
more of these.
Anyway, so on to season 7.
Yes.
Again, the penultimate season of this show.
Chat, we are not well.
Yeah, season 6 I thought was really good. It was a step up from season 5 for me. And then season 7 just blew it out of the water.
Season 7 is in the grand anime tradition of most of the season is one battle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sat.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Well, okay, so like we finally found out who the UA spy was. Spoilers for season 7.
Spoilers, whoa, huge spoilers for season 7. This is a blanket warning. There is so much about to be said here.
It's true.
So much. And unfortunately, I was spoiled way back when for quite a few major things that happened in the show, which is I'm okay with. I'm bummed about a couple things that I've been spoiled for, but most things I'm like, how the hell are we getting here? Because I literally heard in 2022 that, spoiler, Aoyama is the traitor. And I was like, what the hell?
Like,
I was like,
happen?
what does that mean?
Well, like, that happens, but there's a great set of interactions that build off of that where the class is not willing to let him go.
Yes.
Even though it's like, in that situation, I wouldn't blame any of them. They never wanted to speak to him
I would
again.
never blame, especially Bakugo, who's like, so you're the fucking reason I got kidnapped?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But even Bakugo has that great moment where Deku like burst out and Bakugo's just like, there you go.
And you're like,
oh, y'all are heroes, aren't you? It's really good. The things I had spoiled, I had Gear Shift spoiled, but I didn't know exactly how it worked.
I did not know what it was. I had not gotten spoiled for that.
I just knew he could change the trajectory of things, like speed and
which is such a fascinating quirk.
Oh, it's a great power, and they use it great. So I knew about that one, and then I had Bakugo spoiled, but again, I thought he got dusted. I thought he got disintegrated. I didn't think that was what was going to happen.
There's still a chance.
Yeah, I know. Anyone who's seen the show, don't spoil it for us. We don't know. I think you're going to read the manga, but I'm not. I'm waiting for the show.
About... Where am I at in the manga right now? I'm right now where the three of them are interning with Endeavor is where I'm at in the manga right now. So I'm a little over halfway. I assume where they are right now, it ended at about 420, 430-ish chapter, 420, 430-ish chapters. And this most recent volume that came out was 39. Mm-hmm. So I imagine and these last two volumes was bigger. So I imagine they're trying to wrap this up.
Yeah.
But now I'm not so sure because I feel like we just got...
we essentially went into the final fights.
Yes.
Is where the season
I
ends.
was flipping through the chapters of this most recent volume and I'm like, okay, so there's basically only like maybe 2 chapters in here that we have not gotten to in the show. So I don't know how they're going to wrap up the rest of this.
But it may be a shorter season, maybe a long, whatever. But
we might even get a movie. We might be back here.
No, they already announced they're doing a season.
Okay. Oh, well, that's
season.
True.
Yeah, the season 8 to close it out.
Oh, that's true. I bet it'll be like an hour and a half long episode or something.
Well, it's a season, so there'll be episodes.
Well, no, I mean, like, I imagine that the finale is going to be like...
maybe. We'll see. And it's not anime's tradition.
I'm waiting for the Avatar The Last Airbender effect where everyone starts doing 4 episodes that wrap up the entire show, and it's like a 2-hour special. But
I agree with that.
We're losing recipes. Anyways.
We are. So that leading into the plan to split... actually, it's been so long that season 7's been coming out. We got to talk about Star and Stripe. Which is just one of those moments where you're like, hell yes, I love her. She is oh god damn it. No.
She was so RIP to a real one.
I know. I thought she was awesome. I liked a lot of the themes of that character of just going, I'm not waiting for you to tell me yes. I'm gonna go fuck this guy up.
Which is like, of course, the maybe the first American superhero we're introduced to is like, I think I'm just gonna go do it.
I think I'm just gonna go win, and then doesn't win. But
then sends
the moment
off
of
her...
like, New Order will rage against all quirks, and just the visuals of him just being ripped apart is so cool.
It's the quirk equivalent of giving the middle finger.
Yeah, it's going fuck you, dude.
It's like, okay. You think you can beat me? No, that's fine. You did, but you know.
So this season starts on just a bang, right? Of that character doing that thing.
A bang into a huh.
Yeah, into a huh.
Okay.
So it starts there, and then we go from there into a pretty slow stretch.
Yes.
A good stretch, like good stuff is happening.
Good character stuff,
but it's slow. And something that I felt a lot going into this, where I was like, okay, Deku feels weak.
Yes.
How is he going to fight Shigaraki? Because we see Shigaraki nearly at full power going
Not
off, right?
good.
And we're like, how does Deku fight this? It's confusing. I'm like, whatever, he's going to be weak. They're probably holding on to something, but like, it's just, he feels too weak. So then you think, okay, they're going to do a thing where the team with him and he's going to be the big hitter and they're all going to do everything, whatever. You think that's what's going to happen. And then he unleashes Gear Shift. His entrance into the final fight, right, where they shut down the wall and open it back up, and then
he gets in the 1 second that it's down.
Yeah, and then he just like turns and goes and kicks him and like he roll. Oh my god, that's one of the best endings to an episode of TV in a long time.
It's just kind of one of the coolest things ever. Like it was a Twitter meme for a little bit of just setting it to different songs
because it works with every
which is the
song.
ultimate compliment of any cool anime fight scene is that it works with any song you put over it.
So I loved that. Like I loved that entrance, and then I loved the immediacy of him realizing Bakugo and what that means thematically, where he's like losing his shit. He's about to just go monster mode and die doing it
because that's his best friend.
I know, and then it takes Mirio, somebody he really looks up to go, no, be a hero.
Yeah,
we need you to be a hero, not a weapon of vengeance. We need you to be a hero.
And can we talk about Mirio mooning Shigaraki to give the distraction?
One of the best things I've ever seen. It's amazing.
And you love Mirio. Mirio is like...
Mirio's my boy. I love Mirio.
Yes. Like when we first were talking about My Hero way back when we first met, you were like, Mirio is my boy forever and ever.
Mirio's my boy forever and ever. I also love when he shows up and the way they use his power, where it's like, you realize very quickly he can't hurt Shigaraki at all.
Yeah.
So what he does is he blocks his field of vision. He like gets people out of the way. He moves things.
He's a professional nuisance to Shigaraki.
Exactly. And it makes it so fascinating. And then you think, okay, well now it's Deku and Mirio back at it together. And then nope, it's just Deku. It's just Deku going the speed of light, essentially.
Well, and it's so sweet because Mirio has that moment where he's like, did you like not have friends? To Shigaraki. And Shigaraki's like, no, I had friends.
I had friends, I swear.
And it makes me sad because that's the moment where villains like, which is always just a thing that gets me, is little kids not having friends. Like you could just mention, like I can't talk about it for too long or I'm gonna start crying.
Okay.
But which again is so part of the beautiful patchwork of My Hero characters is that everyone, you're like, we're in the middle of the freaking like giant battle to end this entire series. And Shigaraki's like, no, I had friends.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's good stuff.
And then Miri goes, oh, my apologies.
That's my bad, dude.
Which is so just the person Mirio is like, oh, shit, dude, my bad.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to making fun of you and mooning you, but I'll leave that part alone.
Yeah. Well, and then the payoff and conclusion to the Todoroki family. Really love how that paid off, where the whole family shows up and it just takes one. It's like... that's the thing about familial trauma.
Yes.
Is it feels like a raging fire.
Yes.
It feels like this thing you can't let go. You have to be angry to the detriment of you more than everyone else, which is the metaphor of Dabi.
Yes.
He's literally incinerating his body because he can't just go okay.
He can't
Okay. You know what I mean? Like they're all there. He's burning them alive. They're doing everything they can to stop him, and Shoto flies in at the last second and just it's
and
so
they're
good.
all it's such a poignant metaphor too, because every single Todoroki child is ending the cycle in their own way, be it correctly or incorrectly, because obviously Dabi's not doing it well. Dabi is in fact furthering the cycle of abuse.
Dabi's the cautionary tale of what it is to continue the cycle.
Yes. And then there's Natsuo, who kind of is ignoring everything and is like, I can't even begin to deal with this.
Yeah.
And then there's Fuyumi, who is trying to patch it, but she's not able to. She's not able to acknowledge. She's doing the kind of sweeping under the rug thing. And then there's really only Shoto, who's like, I have to acknowledge the things that are happening with my older siblings, and I have to acknowledge what happened to my mom, and I have to acknowledge why my dad does this and how that affects me, and my legacy as this child of a marriage that shouldn't have happened. Like,
and it's all in like, I want to help my brother.
And it literally is just like, I would like to give my brother a hug.
Yeah.
And
it's really good
tell
shit.
him it's going to be okay.
It's really good shit.
And it's literally, and and again, because Deku's the best character ever, it all stems back to Deku in season 2 being like, it's yours.
Yeah.
Like, it helps Todoroki. It just feels so poignant to me that Todoroki is able to, it's not just the good parts of his family legacy, the good parts, i.e. the power. It's the bad parts, and he can take that all within himself and move on in a very beautiful and meaningful way.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Then the All Might reveal of Iron Might.
Iron Might is maybe one of the coolest things.
Yeah, like he shows up and he's just this is what I want to. We mentioned earlier about like the legacy of a hero and the danger of that and things like that. They're broadcasting this to people.
Yes.
The fact that All Might is probably gonna die. They're showing that to people, but they're showing somebody stand up, a quirkless man stand up to the demon lord.
Like, and it really is just like once a hero, always a hero.
And all it is trying to buy seconds. That's all he's trying to do. He's just trying. Literally, he almost dies in 2 hits. He gets incredibly lucky.
He's like, my ribs are broken.
But then he's just like, you know what? Deku's been doing this and breaking and fighting. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to take everything all of my students taught me.
Literally.
I'm going to do all of these techniques, all these ideas that we came up for this suit that come from my students who taught me these things. I love that. I love when
It's
a
so
mentor goes,
beautiful.
you taught me as much as I taught you.
It's one of the best things in it. And it's one of the best storytelling devices ever to me is a mutually beneficial mentor-mentee relationship.
But this one just feels so particularly poignant because it's not just like he's doing Deku stuff back to his own stuff.
Yeah.
He's using everybody's power in different ways.
When he starts listing out the kids' names and saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I was like, that made me incredibly emotional.
And he's just going to go down. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm going to buy my pupil the seconds he needs.
And how fascinating is it that in the same season, both All Might and Bakugo have a moment of internal narration where they're like, is this how Deku's felt the entire time?
Yeah.
And you're like, dog.
Now let's talk about the main thing we want to talk about, which is the Bakugo.
Do I want to talk about it?
Well, I'm going to talk about it. So I've talked about Deku a lot as being this great character that is about like toxic heroism.
Yes.
Right? Like that's something I mentioned. I had a tweet, or not a tweet, a TikTok go like very minusculely viral over that. Right? Bakugo is this, I'm going to fight. I'm going to do this thing. Being a hero is much more complicated for me. Being a hero isn't just about saving someone. Being a hero is also about proving to myself that I'm good enough. It's a little selfish.
It is.
Bakugo is a little bit of a selfish hero.
100%.
In a way that I don't think is immoral.
No.
In a way that he seems like a kid who is probably pretty scared and has a lot of self-conscious issues and image issues, so he has to be big and puff out his chest and be strong.
He's an incredibly self-conscious character.
But he still at his core wants to help people.
Yes.
He still at his core wants to be a hero. And so that moment when he's like watching, dying, a collapsed lung, bleeding from his eye, and he's looking and he's memorizing the moves, he doesn't know he's going to unlock this new gift.
No idea.
But he's standing up and going, I will face you, Shigaraki, because that is what my friend would do. In that moment, his legs move.
Like, his legs moved on their own. Are you... I feel like I'm going crazy.
So it's the moment whenever one of my favorite shots in all of My Hero is the hand coming in on Shigaraki's face and then just lighting up.
Like,
and then he turns to swat him and he's like flipping it over there and his mask has been ripped off because he's so close, and he's just like the voice performance there where he goes from here to here.
And he's like,
unreal. Like, it's so good. Yeah.
Can I still catch up to you, Izuku? And
It's
I'm
like,
should
Izuku.
I die? Is this it for me?
And then the realization that he's been carrying the All Might card this whole time is one of those things where it's
I
like,
have to lay down on the floor for 5 hours.
that I talk about stuff like this a lot. That is something that tells you everything you need to know about Katsuki
100%.
Bakugo.
100%.
He is the kid who's going to puff out his chest and be angry and be strong and say he's the best because he kind of is, but he's still a kid who idolized a hero, and he carries a token of that to remind himself
He
of that.
reminds himself
He
constantly
grounds
why
himself.
he's doing this.
He grounds himself in the idea of what he wants to be, which is what he saw in All Might. Deku saw something very different. Bakugo saw strength and power and using it for positive things. No matter how Bakugo's personality, that's who he is. He wants to use strength and power positively.
It's 100%. And again, they're win to save to win.
It's great.
And,
it's just great
and
shit.
they see it within All Might, and they're embodying that design.
Yeah.
I'm crazy about Bakugo every day of my
I know.
life. But
so, then the season ends on a cliffhanger. It ends on these two facing off, and again, like I talked about, they bring back Gentle Criminal, and this is what I'm talking about. Deku.
Yes. There is no wasted character in my
No,
hero
yeah,
ever.
Lady Nagant blasts his hand off, Shigaraki's hand off to save.
The coolest person in the world.
Yeah, right.
God.
Like twice gets this moment where.
Yes.
And we talked about the persecution, all of the stuff with the heteromorphs.
Yes.
At the hospital. Oh, one of the best.
So
one of the other
fascinating.
best moments is when they all bust in and it's just the doctors holding hands in a line.
You're like, you're not gonna hurt
And then
our
that's
patient.
what stops it. They're like, oh God, okay.
They're like, hey, are we doing the right thing?
It's so good. All of that shit is so good with Spinner and all of that.
All of that with Coda and
Mm-hmm.
Coda finding his voice,
Yeah.
which is always just makes me tender because I think he's such an underrated character. Him and Shoji.
Well, and again, he's a metaphor for Shigaraki.
Yes.
Shigaraki, who was abused and abandoned and treated horribly and scarred, and he just chose to be.
Yes,
he chose to show dignity in the face of that.
Yes, it's which I just love that.
Coda, but I meant Shoji. Yeah,
You meant
but
yes,
Coda
but
as well.
Coda as well because I just love that he's like, fly my animal friends. Like,
Yeah.
I love him. He's
Get that loser up there for me.
my perfect little Snow White boy. But it's Toga and Ochako, who we haven't even talked about yet, and they have one of the most fascinating relationships on the entire show to me because I think they are very much a foil of Deku and Shigaraki, but they have a very different lens on it, obviously, because they're both women and because also Toga confirmed bi. Hello. I mean, we've been new, but there's nothing straight about the way she talks about Ochako.
It's true.
It's true. But they have that beautiful moment of one of the things that I like most in anything where there's a hero and a villain, which I use loosely, but just people who the protagonist and the antagonist. There's nothing I really love more than those two having a kind of weird shared respect for each other.
Yeah.
That no one else can kind of put a finger on. Like this mutual, like, we're not so different, you and I, which is like it's maybe it's cliche, but it's something that I find very powerful every time. And so I think Toga and Ochako have one of the most interesting relationships on the show because Ochako's like, that switch flips in this season and she's like, no, I really do understand now. And then they have that beautiful moment where Toga's like, you really do think my smile is pretty? And Ochako's like, you're the prettiest in the world. And then you're like, oh. And then Toga has that beautiful moment where she's like, it's not just taking blood that's love, it's giving blood. And she turns herself into Ochako and gives Ochako blood. And that was a big standout moment of the season for me.
And I also, another great moment is when Endeavor just loses it.
Oh my God.
Where
Endeavor shooting
goes,
fire out of his eyeballs.
Yeah, Endeavor shooting fire out of his eyeballs and then creating a fire, a flaming hand and just beating the shit out of All for One with it. That moment is so good to me because it shows how far Endeavor's come. Where Endeavor was always
100%.
willing to do that, but in this moment he's like, fuck the plan, fuck everything else. I'm gonna win.
Period.
I'm gonna be the number one hero. And it's a fantastic, fantastic way to do it where he's literally losing a limb. He's like got a hole in his chest and he's like, I'm still gonna win.
Beat to shit and he's still like, and now fire's gonna come out of my mouth and my eyes and I don't know, maybe probably his ears and his nose too.
Yeah.
Not that I could tell, but
It's
I wouldn't
so
put it
good.
past him.
It's one of the coolest fire users in all of anime. But like
100%.
it's so
one of the coolest fire users, period.
Yeah.
If we're really being honest here.
So that, but
Which
now
sorry, go ahead.
Just getting on to like Sun Eater creating the like energy cannon.
The coolest thing. There are so many things. There was a moment pretty much every episode in this season where you and I both sat up and went,
holy shit.
like,
yeah.
Which is just, it's good television.
Good
Good television.
But so the any other things you want to talk about season 6 for our little closing bit here on season 6? Season 7.
So they mentioned last season in Bakugo Katsuki Rising, which is a great episode, one of my favorite episodes of this whole show. There's this very beautiful moment where it's a flashback because they're in the middle of fighting Shigaraki the first time to them training Deku with Black Whip when he had first gotten Black Whip and he's learning and they're talking and it's Bakugo and All Might talking about how All Might's like, when I said you were like Endeavor, I didn't mean like you suck.
Yeah.
I meant that you've both changed and you both have the same kind of drive of like, I have to be powerful. I have to be number one. And I see that more than ever in this season with both of them going just like gonzo crazy. I'm going to do everything I can. Which is just like a little like callback that I enjoy that wasn't just like a one and done conversation. They're like, and now we're done comparing the two.
Yeah.
They continue to have this really interesting foil to me of,
They make for a great one too.
Yes,
at least
100%.
Thematically. You know what I mean? There's the pro version and then there's the student version.
Yes, and there's obviously everything that Endeavor has done is like a lot worse than everything
Oh,
that Bakugo
yeah.
has done.
Bakugo's a dumb kid.
Bakugo's
is a
as a
morally
dumb, shitty kid who
abhorrent-
grows up,
yeah.
and Endeavor made quirk babies. So,
yeah.
which is another thing that I think it's so funny that people will still try to be like, well, remember how Bakugo treated Deku in episode 1 of this show? And we're all like, yeah. So we're on episode like 300 something.
Yeah, it's like, guys, things changed.
Things
He's a stupid
change.
kid.
This is maybe some of the best. You're witnessing some of the best character development ever. Like, let's not just be like, well,
Yeah.
what about like this would be like if we were all like, well, remember when Zuko tried to kill Aang in season 1? It's
Yeah,
like, well, we've moved
that's
on from
the
that.
point. Anyway. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. So I want to talk about Deku again. Deku in the last episode I talked a lot about, and again, that's that TikTok. If you go back and find our My Hero episode TikToks, I described Deku and likened him unto like, it's something you and I have talked about a lot of toxic heroism. He's the guy that is going to put his body on the line and do the thing and win no matter the cost. And that's not a good lesson.
No.
And he unlearns that lesson.
Yes. It's a lesson that gets you cut out of the hero game way too early.
Yeah. In this season and season 6 and now season 6 and 7, we push this idea of the past vestiges. We push this idea of different quirks. We push this idea of he literally isn't doing it alone. At any given moment, one of them can pop in and give him a piece of advice. Again, Deku, the thing that makes Deku great, the thing that makes Deku one of my favorite protagonists ever, is the fact that he's a sponge. He's this guy who has learned so much
100%.
from so many people. And even the people inside of him, he's being given power after power after power. And they go, you have to learn how to use this. Deku isn't gone from toxic heroism, learning his lesson about all of that in the most extreme ways, to becoming this idea of a guy who has to do it with friends.
100%.
He has the power to go at the speed of light, and he still needs people to back him up.
Could not agree more.
And that is what makes Deku one of the best protagonists ever to me. My Hero gets a little bit of shit for various reasons, some valid and some not valid. But Deku is one of these characters that I think needs to be like looked at more. Like, he's very anime protagonist, but he's so beautifully written.
He's
And
an all-time protagonist.
He's so good, and his powers are so interesting, and his heart is so interesting. And I just love Deku. So I love Deku in a lot of ways, like I love Naruto.
100%.
And Naruto's one of my favorite things ever, period, bar none, stop. And both of them are very similar in that way, where they like have these mentors that they idolize, but they still have to do it their own way.
Yes.
And this power within that gives them strength that they become friends with and win over. And I love Deku. I love Deku so much.
I love Deku so much. He's
yeah.
I agree with you. I think in the future we'll talk about great protagonists,
Yeah.
and he'll be in the conversation
For sure.
If not just for you and me, for I
very
think
least for anime. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, My Hero's not nearly as popular as things like Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen.
I mean, I think well,
It's gone through phases of it.
For
but
sure,
not,
for
it's
sure.
not the same anymore. Like, you go to
No.
any store, they're not gonna have the same amount of My Hero stuff as they're gonna have a lot of other things.
sad.
It's fine. We live. But yeah, I just love superheroes, and I love Deku, and I think the show is really working for me, and I'm nervous about the ending, but I'm also excited because all great things do have to end.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. The segment
No lessons.
lessons. Oh my god.
For me, lessons are just like never let the genre stop you from believing
100%.
that it can be something bigger. You know what I mean? It's like, take the broadest story you possibly can. Do this as a writing exercise. Take the story of Superman. Take the story of Deku. Take the story of All Might. Whatever it may be. Put them in the biggest possible scenario you can think of. And then find the human core of it. And
Agree.
see where that takes you.
Agree.
You know what I mean? That's a great writing exercise. That's how all stories should be. I've written things that are these big, massive, crazy, wild, experiential things, but at the core they're about loneliness, or the core they're about finding your people, or at the core they're about, or whatever. You know what I mean? I always find that nugget of truth. So even if something I write is schlocky, there's something in there that I just can't let go of, a thematic thing I can't let go of. That's my lesson.
Your lesson is probably very similar to mine in terms of I think when you have been a writer long enough, you start maybe, I don't know, I feel like I slip into this of your characters are like your little playthings.
That's what you want to avoid.
And I 100% feel like this teaches me a lot about there's always, which is again very similar to the lesson I had, from last week's episode with Stephen King, but like just feeling like your characters are people, and like you said, like getting to the core of what makes them tick, and getting to the core, to the pathos of the heart of the story. If that makes sense. I'm not saying this very well, but yeah, just getting to the heart of why your character is the way they are is 10 times more important than like, here's this cool thing they did, because then it's like, well, why did they do the cool thing? I want to know why. Like, and with Deku, there's always a why, and the why is always poignant and beautiful. So, yeah,
good shit.
Good shit.
Anime, watch it.
Love her, and it's not just the
love her.
Anime, and the
is
genre
a
is
her.
not anime. The medium is anime.
Medium is anime.
That you could be like, well, I don't like XYZ.
I genuinely just mean Japanese animation is gorgeous and wonderful, and their stories are
100%.
really fascinating and super cool. This is not anything none of you have heard. It's anime is the most popular.
You're listening
thing
to this
ever.
podcast, you know that. So.
But anyway, yeah, that's that.
Cool.
I had a different B segment. I couldn't find the thing I needed to make a show of it.
He's been really suspicious about this.
So we're
all
gonna
day.
save that. We're gonna do that some other time.
Okay.
So you get to keep waiting to find out. Instead, I want to do a quick talk about October.
Oh yeah.
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 So this will come out like 2 weeks into November. So October was a while ago. But you and I both did the 31 movies, 31 days.
Very rewarding.
Very rewarding.
Difficult for me.
I think I ended up watching like 37 new horror movies I had never seen. I watched a lot of movies. I think I just want to talk about what are like, maybe not the 4 absolute best, what are 4 standouts for you that really, really stuck the landing, you really enjoyed, you really got into?
Number 1, I think, which you've definitely mentioned on the pod, is Ganjam Haunted Asylum.
Yeah.
Which has some
month.
scares in it that I haven't stopped thinking about. It's just, oh man, they make horror different in Korea and Japan.
Yeah.
There is something spooky ooky dooky about the horror movies they make over there that I just don't feel is the same in the US. Ganjam was a real standout to me. This wasn't new to you, but Smile 2 was new to you, but Smile was new to me, and I really enjoyed that. I think people get kind of like, we've moved on as a society where people were like, elevated horror, it's the new thing, and now everyone kind of makes fun of like your movie, the monster is really the trauma, but I'm still into that. Yeah, because I like that kind of thing. I was essentially a psych major. I'm like, sure, give me the trauma movie.
Yeah.
So I was really into Smile and Smile 2. I liked Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead
was just fun. I just like when there's just practical effects and a demon shows up. Sue me. Like,
yeah.
Oh, well.
Big standouts for me. I really dug Azrael.
Yes,
Azrael was on Shudder.
phenomenal.
You can watch it. I really liked that movie. I really liked Final Destination 2 and 3.
Me as well.
Really enjoyed those movies.
Final Destination 1, 2, and 3 for me, but
a blast.
Slapstick horror, we need to bring it back.
The Wailing is a really good Korean movie. I saw Creature from the Black Lagoon for the first time.
Yes, me too.
I really liked that movie. And
there are shots in that movie that I can't believe they made in the 50s.
I know, right? Yeah, the underwater cinematography in that. You're like,
whoa.
Wait, what? You were allowed what? I also really loved Heretic.
Heretic was great.
We went to the Smell-O-Vision early screening.
We got very lucky. Shout out Alamo Draft House, as always.
And had just an absolute blast at that. So that's
so
a movie
fun.
I really liked. Ganjam Haunted Asylum is the scariest movie I watched all month. That movie terrified me.
I'm gonna peruse very quickly too, because there's one I'm missing.
Yeah. So
I got to watch. I mentioned this last week, but I got to see Dream Warriors. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, as well as Wes Craven's New Nightmare the week after, and that was, I mean, there are a few franchises where I consistently have as much fun as I do with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
Yeah, they're the best.
Because they're just fun. They're fun, they're spooky, they're gross, they're weird, and there's nothing else I think you can ask of a horror movie, especially from a franchise that, not old, I don't want to say old, but I guess it's like a 40-year-old franchise at this point, but like still.
Yeah.
We need to bring them back in a fun way.
Yeah.
We need to bring back a lot of horror franchises in a fun way, not in the way they're getting brought back, but I digress.
Yeah. Oh well.
So
recommendations?
I wanted to give superhero media recommendations.
Do it.
Just for the theme of the episode. Number 1 that we've all been thinking about lately because it was just Thursday. October 31st.
Thursday, October 31st.
The streets are crowded with the holiday, even with the rain. So the Batman 2022, the best Batman movie. I don't feel like that's controversial to say anymore.
Like that or Mask of the Phantasm.
Don't feel like that's really controversial to say at all. There's nothing I can say about the Batman that hasn't already been said by you on this podcast. Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which has one of my favorite moments in any piece of Batman media ever, which is I didn't plan on being happy. Bruce talking to his parents' grave and being like, I didn't plan on being happy. I'm sorry. Like, cries every time. The Lego Batman movie, which they did an episode on. You should go watch it. Just kind of the other best Batman movie.
Yeah.
And then some TV shows like Batman the Animated Series, the Justice League animated shows, Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans, which is just bestie forever. And then Young Justice. So
good stuff.
Yeah.
I'll continue on that and do some superhero stuff. My Hero Academia, Tom Taylor's Nightwing run.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Snyder's Batman run, Absolute Batman. I talked about that last time. Read that. But I'm going to talk about Logan. You should watch Logan. You should watch Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy.
Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
You should watch The Suicide Squad, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. You should watch the 2 Spider-Verse movies. You should watch the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Superheroes are great, and I love them dearly, and I think we all should treat them with a little more
play with the
respect.
form more. They are metaphors. They are tools for you to use.
And then read Superman Up in the Sky by Tom King, and then read A Superman for All Seasons by Jeff Loeb. That's a bunch of recommendations.
Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, thank you.
I didn't read that, but he loves it.
I love that book desperately. Read Swamp Thing, read there's tons of stuff
The
to
Long
read.
Halloween.
The Long Halloween.
Start naming things.
Look, the point is you got a lot of stuff to watch. I had a ton of fun in this episode. You got a lot of stuff to watch, a lot of stuff to read. So you should go do those things. Or I don't know. Live your life.